My name's Jolene. We are interviewing Maya, who is the student for this class, but as she worked at a hospital during COVID, she obviously is going to have some interesting things to say. So to start, did you experience a transition from in-person to remote during COVID?
So there's two different facets that I experienced this. Professionally, no. I was an essential worker at the time in food service, and now work in the medical industry as a transporter. But initially, we were sent home, collecting unemployment and being paid an emergency fund. And then I was reassigned to work in a hospital. School wise, yes, everything was moved to online, and actually, I preferred it that way. Yeah.
Now, did you make any changes to your goals while going through the COVID apocalypse?
So initially, I was a cook, and my one of my goals was to become a chef. But during the COVID pandemic, I realized that really wasn't the direction I wanted to go. It was more a direction of convenience rather than passion. I've always wanted to be in an industry that helps people in a more direct way than like cooking. So I actually am going to be enrolling at a state college here in California to become a social worker, so I can do critical mental health things for people, especially in the LGBT community. At the beginning of the COVID pandemic, I was kind of male identifying, like considering transitioning, but not really thinking it's something I could ever do. But getting that time away from the social pressure allowed me to begin transitioning. So I guess those are two goals that have changed.
Certainly. Now, how do you think going through COVID has shaped you as an individual? For instance, well, you kind of went through this talking about who you were before March 2020 and who you are now. But, like, if you could kind of recap on that.
Okay, so how it shaped me is like I said before, transitioning. I became more my authentic self. I'm trans feminine, so I take feminizing hormones to match who I am on the inside, so to speak. Uh, and and professionally, of course. But another thing it made me evaluate was like the things that are important in life. Like, how do I want to spend life? Because working at a hospital, I did see quite a bit of death and suffering. I still do, but not the same amount of death as I saw it when the pandemic was at its peak. Um, so it kind of made me evaluate my um, values, which would be like family, pets, and helping others in a meaningful way.
Certainly. Now, how did going through COVID change the way you think about the future?
In a weird way, it kind of gave me hope, actually. How I feel about the future. Um, I know it sounds really weird, but working in such an intense environment and it showed me what I'm able to handle, and kind of validated I can handle more, and made me decide that I want to get into a more care oriented service. How else did it make me feel about the future? Sorry, I'm peeking at the questions.
Yeah, what? How did it change the way you think about the future in any way?
Um, so how it makes me think about the future as well would be, I mean, I guess it did give me the sense of hope in the sense that it felt like a lot of people and communities did band together in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, they didn't band together. I mean, it created like an atmosphere of us versus them. A lot of frustrations flared, ending in like riots. Like, but at the same time, like on a local community level, we did see a lot of people banding together and kind of like putting aside differences. Unfortunately, at like the macro level, like there was like the Capitol riots with the right wingers and stuff, and then I don't know. it kind of like it kind of made deeper the divisions that were already there in a way on like a macro level. Like person to person, I haven't seen that as much, but yeah,
On
on a
a,
societal
on a
level.
societal scale,
So how I feel
yeah.
about the future on a societal level is pretty hopeless, but on a personal level, like I actually feel quite a bit of hope. So it's kind of weird to divide it like that, but
No, that's fair. Especially with the current news coming out of the Capitol.
oh, with the Supreme
Um,
Court and
the
the
Supreme
yeah.
Court being run by retards, but we're gonna skip past that. Um, what was the toughest thing during COVID for you?
Um, the toughest thing during COVID was obviously the concentration of deaths that I did witness like firsthand. I mean, I didn't actually see the people like flatline or anything, but I saw like the bodies being wheeled out all the time. I saw like people like in the rooms just suffering because I was on the floors. The other tough thing about COVID was for me, like professionally, is that for me personally was, um, well, to be honest, the transition to like online was actually good for me. Going in person just makes everything so much harder, in my opinion, and not having to like transition in front of other people, at least for a little bit until I was reassigned to work, definitely made it a lot easier. So like, it's kind of funny that it made a lot of things easier personally. The toughest thing again would be just the concentrated suffering, as well as just realizing how stupid a lot of people are. Like the people that are against vaccines, like the people who are against masks, the people who like. I guess that was the toughest thing. Was like you'd expect during a pandemic when the death rates are like higher than they've ever been, like for any kind of illness in recent times, that like people would just do common sense things, but
I
I,
mean, it isn't surprising, sadly, but you know, if you could relive the past 2 years, what would you do differently?
um okay, the past 2 years, I actually feel pretty satisfied with the way things have gone in my life. In terms of where I was and where I am now. I mean, I started the pandemic completely masculine, like not true to myself at all, like miserable, alcoholic, like suicidal. And now I'm just generally happy. Like I have goals and I actually feel like I can achieve them. I'm like I said, I got a new job in the medical industry. It's nothing crazy like like being a nurse or a doctor or anything, but I have a goal I'm working towards, which within hopefully about 3 years I will achieve the social work that I talked about earlier, I believe. Um, if I could go, like, if I was like suddenly respawned in the past, um, I mean, I'd seek out. I actually found a new relationship during the COVID pandemic, so I'd seek out my partner again, of course, the person interviewing me, and I would probably try to just stay on unemployment and go to school full time. To be honest, like instead of going back to work, or I'd rather achieve the goals I've met now just quicker because I would know what I want more. Um, all in all, though, I can't say I regret it. I regret a lot from before that, but I think it's like the first time in my life I actually feel like I'm making the right decision. Contrary to what the Supreme Court might think about me being trans, but they're idiots, not like damn near Nazis almost.
I mean, the slip
White
is definitely
supremacists.
there. There's definitely a bit
Cishet
of
white
a
supremacists.
yeah.
So the United States is kind of screwed right now, but what's new?
Not much there. Well, all in all, I think that's all we needed to get through for that. So I think you're all
Yay!
good for the interview.
Cool. Well, good luck, everyone.